Hello there, and welcome back to the Millennium Sessions podcast. My name is Dara Murray, and today I'm joined by two early music experts and artists and producers, Yonit Kosovske and Vlad Smishkewych. And today we're going to be talking about early music and their journey through contemporary music performance. Guys, how did you get started in early music, and how did your knowledge start to be formed and your kind of want for performance in that sector of music?
Well, when I was 4 years old, my father played a record of Johann Sebastian Bach, and that turned me on to early music, and the rest is history.
We must be both analog kids, because I also had record experiences with my own family records, and they happen to be guitar music from the Renaissance and lute music from the Renaissance, and madrigals and things from a little bit earlier than Bach, but equally captivating, and that also grabbed me and hasn't let go, I suppose, of either of us since.
Great stuff, and I feel like, especially hearing records and stuff, I feel like that's a very excellent way to get into music, and something that we don't hear as much anymore. So in terms of your own performances, you're very involved in film as well, and a combination of film and music. How important do you think, how efficiently do you think music and film go hand in hand, especially in your own work?
I mean, I'd say overall, film and music they're very, very much siblings. And you can think of a lot of great film directors who conceive of their film direction or their edits using music, and that plays a super important role. For us, it is part of our kind of narrative filmmaking, which is one side of what we do, but it's also really important to us in the sense that we put film or we use film to express ideas that are in the music that we make or that we produce. That's those ideas, we bring them out in new and interesting ways on film. Yonit's done a number of really amazing projects, especially that are contemporary, fresh, and also involving dance a lot of times.
For me, music is very visual. So when I'm playing music, I often have some kind of scene in my mind or choreography. So I especially get excited about the opportunity to be able to make a film, to make a video, to make something visual in connection with music.
Amazing. And do you have a favorite work of yours that you've done with film, or anything that comes to mind when you think of your own work?
Yes, I think one of my favorite projects that I've worked on, which I believe might have also been one of my first, it's called Rocking. And it's a combination of early music, and it was filmed in the beautiful mystical icon chapel of Glenstill Abbey, not far from here. And it combined voice, viola da gamba, harpsichord, and contemporary dance. So that was a very special project for me.
And certainly an interesting combination as well. When talking about early music, you run the Early Music Festival in Limerick. How's the experience been running that festival, and how did that whole thing start off?
Yeah, gosh, it's been an exciting roller coaster. It's been great to have Limerick's youngest early music festival. Ireland's youngest early music festival. Now we're in our 6th year. 2026 marks our 6th year, and it's just been absolutely thrilling to bring the artists that we love. But it's also really special because we get to craft a festival that's not like the early music festivals that people often see around the world, which are excellent, and they do a very special thing. But I think for us, contemporary music, or the approach to music for new music, contemporary music, avant-garde, that's really hand in hand with how early music is done and conceived. They're both really experimental when you think about it. Somebody making music that you haven't heard for hundreds, thousands of years sometimes, how do you come up with a reconstruction? Well, there's a lot of ways into it, but it requires a bit of going after it really bravely. I mean, both Yonit and I love contemporary music composed by living composers or recently alive, and that's a big part of what we do. But especially on early instruments, I'd say old instruments, Yonit does a lot of commissioning.
One thing that we hope our audiences and our artists will come away with from our festival is, well, what is early music? There's not really a clear definition, right? When did it start? When did it finish? And we hope to keep early music alive. We hope to keep these ancient instruments alive, both by playing earlier repertoire and by playing contemporary music. We also try not to situate ourselves only in Europe, but also by playing repertories, musics from around the world. And we especially enjoy collaborating with musicians, artists from many different traditions around the world.
Yeah, and I suppose collaboration is such a big part of the music industry now anyway, as it grows. And your company, Now and Then Media, I'm sure collaboration is a big aspect of that as well, especially when it comes to working with musicians and trying to find people to play with and to grow an interest. Do you agree?
Gosh, absolutely. I mean, that's partly, that's a big reason why we started the company, was to get those artists that we really love or that we're interested in collaborating with, if we haven't yet collaborated with them, to bring them to us, really, for projects, for recordings, for CDs, films, videos, festival performances. Just all of that ecosystem is part of what we really love to bring the collaborations in and close to us. And often that involves people who are inside and outside of the Western tradition, classical tradition, sometimes partly in early music and elsewhere, wouldn't you say? Yeah.
I'd agree.
And I suppose even with the festival as well, bringing kind of a new aspect to Limerick in terms of early music and the style. I'm sure we would all agree that's something that's very needed in the music scene in Limerick at the moment and fits in a good space. Is there any kind of early music instruments that you don't play that you would be particularly interested in?
Well, I would like to play the duduk in particular, and there are several plucked instruments from around the world and the Middle East and elsewhere that if I had a chance, I'd love to learn.
Yeah.
And yourself, Vlad?
Yeah, I'd love to incorporate the kora or the krar. These are two different traditions, two different instruments from two different traditions in Africa. One from the Western African traditions, especially Senegalese and neighboring the kora tradition. But that's really similar to in spirit. And sometimes in sound even, to medieval bards and the way that they used lyres and sang, and their function was very similar. So it's kind of like a kinship between that DNA, that musical DNA. The krar is from Ethiopia and the region there around Eastern Africa, and that's also similar, has ties to like biblical song, and so that would really be beautiful. And I love the duduk, which Yonit mentioned, this apricot wood reed instrument that's so mysterious and haunting. We like kind of offbeat music, and I'm really into drones and hurdy-gurdies and bagpipes too. So I mean, I play some, but not so well as the masters around the world, who are the ones that we bring to us.
I suppose it's especially early instruments require such a dedication to your craft as well. Like you were saying about plucked instruments, one instrument that comes to mind when I think of it is the shamisen, Japanese instrument, which is played with a kind of I think it's a large slab of bamboo, I believe, and each string is kind of hit, and there's no it's completely fretless as well, so it's kind of very hard to kind of find the notes and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that playing an early instrument especially requires a lot more practice and dedication than any other?
I wouldn't say it requires more practice.
Okay.
It definitely requires more tuning.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the old joke. Early musicians, it's 85% tuning and 15% playing.
I suppose I apologize. That my perspective of my question was more so kind of the maintenance of instruments and looking after them and taking care. I apologize.
Right. For sure. I would say a lot of these instruments require care and extra maintenance. When you have a piano, in general, one isn't tuning it every single day, but with a harpsichord, I could be tuning it every day, and sometimes multiple times a day, because they're so temperamental to the heat and to the humidity. So in playing harpsichord, it's really helpful if one also has skills to tune in different temperaments as well. We don't only play in equal temperament, and we play in different pitches, as well as tools to maintain the instrument, to voice the plectra, which sometimes break, strings sometimes break as well.
It can be a hard road, and we're all very grateful that we have artists such as yourselves, just keeping the dedicated artists, keeping that kind of traditions alive, and keeping that music for us. So where can we find you next, and what can we hear about the plans for this year's Early Music Festival in Limerick?
Yeah, so we'll be in the third weekend, I think it is, 3 weekends in. But anyway, the weekend after St. Patrick's Day is our festival weekend. Limerick Early Music Festival runs from the 18th to the 22nd of March this year, 2026. And folks can visit limerickearlymusic.com. Our schedule is up there. Belltable is going to be our hub for several of the concerts, but we'll also have concerts at St. Mary's Cathedral, and also the launch on the 18th is at the People's Museum over on Perry Square. So, I mean, it's a great way to see historic buildings in Limerick, so we like keeping both history alive, but bringing the newness and freshness of performance to these spaces, because that's what really makes it relevant for audiences, and they keep coming back, it seems.
And our theme this year is masks and masks, one spelled with a K, one spelled with a Q-U-E. So do come along for all kinds of music and dance and some theater, and hear and see things concealed and revealed.
Amazing. So we're hoping for a good crowd, and I hope everyone watching takes the time as well to pay a visit to Early Music Festival in Limerick this year. Yonit and Vlad, thank you so much. And we'll see you all in the next episode of the Millennium Sessions podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.